Jared Anderson moves to 11-0, 11 KOs, this time scoring a second round TKO over Oleksandr Teslenko. I've never seen Teslenko fight before. He's a Ukrainian heavyweight based in Canada, 6 feet 4 inches tall, but not very heavy. For this fight against Anderson, he weighed just 213 pounds. So a similar kind of weight to what Deontay Wilder was up until a few fights ago. I think when he fought Ortiz the first time he was around this weight. Correct me if I'm wrong. So he, going into the fight, I believe was, let me see, looking at his box right here, 17-1. But to put it in perspective, because, 17-1 fighter, you might think could possibly have some ability. However, in the case of Teslenko, he was stopped in 5 rounds a couple fights back by Shaundell Winters, the very same Shaundell Winters who was steamrolled in a couple rounds by Alan Babbage. So that just puts this opponent into perspective. Not to criticize Anderson or his matchmakers, but Anderson looks very impressive against this level of opposition. We need to see him stepped up to find out if he really is the real deal against much sterner tests. But here against Teslenko had the typical Eastern European style, upright, but well schooled. Wasn't a lot of pull or tell on his punches. Anderson had no respect for the guy though. I guess he looked at the size of him and how upright he was and felt like he could just bulldoze him. And that's exactly what Jared Anderson did. He started very aggressively. He was letting both hands go, head, body, jabs, every punch in the book, straight shots, hooks, switch hitting, everything was going in. Apart from, well, including the kitchen sink. Let's throw that in as well. He did get tagged a few times because he was so aggressive and there was such little respect there. And he'll need to watch that, of course, moving forward. But similar to Conor Benn versus Chris Algieri, it was like a man with a pea shooter going up against the tank. Teslenko had nothing to keep Jared Anderson off with. He did take Anderson's power fairly well for the first round and a half, maybe. But then he was dropped with a right hand to the head, which appeared at first, when you watched it in real time, as though it was blocked by Teslenko. But in slow motion, you saw that even though he did have a hand up to try and block the shot, it did actually get through and hit him on, I think, the temple or the forehead. And Anderson followed up with a left hook. Teslenko went down. He was hurt and he didn't get up in time. When he did get, well, it got up in time, but when he was on his feet, the referee decided he's in no fit state to continue and waved it off. So as I say, Jared Anderson moves to 11-0 with 11 KOs. Good performance, but we need to see better opposition, not only so that we can find out whether he's the real deal, but also for his own development. You're not going to develop as a fighter. You're not going to learn the things that you need to learn. You're not going to have the experiences that you need to have against that type of opponent. And of course, these lessons and experiences are necessary to reach the top and stay at the top. But again, he's still just 11-0. It's not like he's 20-0, still fighting this type of opponent. So he's got time and he's still a young guy. But with someone as talented as Jared Anderson, there is an element of impatience, at least for me, because you want to see what he can really do. You're excited to see how far he can go. But obviously, I respect the process and I hope that his team pick the right fights at the right time for him to bring him on and test him appropriately. So anyway, let me know what you guys thought in the comments below about Jared Anderson's performance here. And give me some suggestions in terms of opponents for his next fight or next couple fights. Give me a timeline as far as, or a schedule as far as what type of opponent, what level of opponent you think he should be fighting in, let's say, his next 5 fights. Let me know in the comments.